Efforts are being made to rewrite history in Bangladesh. History is being altered in textbooks. We know that on 25th March 1971, West Pakistan launched Operation Searchlight. Under this operation, Bangladesh, then East Pakistan, faced a military crackdown where civilians and political leaders were targeted. The next day, on 26 March 1971, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman declared independence. Following this, Bangladesh's Liberation Army, Mukti Bahini, fought against Pakistani forces. After the 1971 Liberation War, with India's support, Bangladesh was born. Pakistani forces surrendered on 16 December 1971. This is a brief history of the formation of Bangladesh, which has been taught in country's textbooks until now. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is recognized as the father of the nation for his central role in Bangladesh's independence. He is also respectfully called Bangabandhu. However, following the fall of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, efforts are underway to erase the legacy of her father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Bangabandhu's statues were vandalized during the protests. The currency of Bangladesh is now being redesigned, with Bangabandhu's image being removed from the currency notes. Instead, images of protests that led to Sheikh Hasina giving up power will be featured on the new Bangladeshi currency. The old notes bearing Bangabandhu's image will be removed. The Central Bank of Bangladesh will replace the image of Sheikh Hasina's father with visuals of the protests that ended her rule. Portraits of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman are also being removed from public offices. Institutions named after him are being renamed. Additionally, changes will be made to school textbooks. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's title as Father of the Nation will be removed, and it will be stated that in 1971 it was Ziaur Rahman, not Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who declared independence. During the Liberation War of 1971, Ziaur Rahman had collaborated with Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. After independence, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman formed the government in Bangladesh, and Ziaur Rahman served as a senior officer in the Bangladeshi army. In 1975, a coup took place, and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was assassinated. Some junior army officers were involved in the coup, and while Ziaur Rahman was not directly involved, there are speculations about his indirect involvement. Though he may not have openly supported the coup, it is believed that he silently approved of it. Following Bangabandhu's assassination, Ziaur Rahman's power increased. He became the president of Bangladesh in 1977 and the following year founded the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP. There is a political rivalry between BNP and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's party, the Awami League. Both parties compete with each other. Whichever party comes to power in Bangladesh controls the narrative in its own way. Sheikh Hasina of the Awami League served as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh from 1996 to 2001 and then from 2009 to 2024. Under Hasina, the personality cult of her father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, grew significantly. His ideology was promoted and his personal legacy was glorified. Now, following the takeover, an interim government led by Muhammad Yunus governs Bangladesh. He has postponed the elections, aiming to implement reforms in the country first. He plans to consider holding elections after a year or so, and for now intends to retain power. Over the years, Muhammad Yunus has had a tense relationship with Sheikh Hasina. There have been numerous disagreements between the two on various issues. Muhammad Yunus has harbored political aspirations for quite some time and has received support from US Democrats like Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. Sheikh Hasina views Muhammad Yunus as a threat to her. Yunus, in turn, has been a vocal critic of Sheikh Hasina and her party, the Awami League. So now, after coming to power, he has taken many actions against the Awami League. He has cracked down on Awami League leaders, made statements against Sheikh Hasina, initiated legal action against her, and demanded her extradition from India so that action can be taken against her in Bangladesh. Along with this, efforts are being made under his regime to rewrite history. Attempts are underway to erase the legacy of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, while the current regime's own version of history is being promoted. Any elements of history that do not align with the present ideology are being altered. Historical events that glorify political rivals are being downplayed, and anything that portrays Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in a positive light is being suppressed or changed out of fear of losing popularity. If Muhammad Yunus intends to legitimize his rule and justify his current actions and policies, he must present himself as a right leader for the people. The public will not accept anyone's rule just like that. They will only support a leader they perceive as beneficial for them. Grabbing power is one thing, but maintaining it is an entirely different challenge. Yunus has already come to power, but to sustain it, he must create a narrative that portrays him as the better leader for the public. Otherwise, the people already have a proven formula for removing a leader through protests. To create a narrative that the present government is better, Muhammad Yunus will need to downplay the significance of the Awami League. He must present his ideology and policies as superior. Only then will the public accept him. If historical facts show your ideology to be flawed or weak, the opposition can use them against you. Therefore, to remain in power, one must either hide or alter such facts. Contributions of opposition leaders must be downplayed, and historical facts highlighting their important roles either erased or distorted. The correct thing is that there should be integrity to acknowledge that political rivals have also contributed to the country's betterment. As without honesty, when fear of losing popularity and a desire to retain power dominate, one may feel compelled to conceal mistakes and simultaneously focus on exposing the shortcomings of opposition leaders. For instance, downplaying the current government's atrocities against minorities while highlighting the human rights abuses under the previous government. This is a reality we are observing in Bangladesh. An attempt is being made to eliminate every fact that presents the current government in a bad light. The effort is focused on bringing to the people's notice only those selective historical events that portray a positive image of the current regime. These events are used to legitimize their rule and justify their current policies. The idea is to provide selective information that diverts public attention from the ongoing problems. Instead, the focus is shifted to the historical origins of these issues, so the public's anger can be deflected when these problems remain unsolved in the present. This way, the current regime's inability to address issues can be hidden. It's a trick to avoid hard work. If someone raises their voice, they are labeled as wrong. This is because a narrative has already been set. We are fine, the previous people were wrong. As a result, anyone dissenting or speaking in support of the previous people is automatically deemed wrong. Once such a narrative is established, it becomes easier to suppress dissent. Whenever there is a crackdown on dissent, the current regime does not face significant opposition. Now, do you understand why a leader tries to frame the opposition in a bad light by rewriting history? By altering history in textbooks, future generations' understanding of past events can be controlled. This makes it easier to influence people's thinking and keep them loyal and obedient to the current regime. To achieve this, one simply needs to make necessary changes and deliver information selectively. Controlled dissemination of selective information helps create a positive image of the present regime in people's eyes. Once this is done, consolidating power becomes easier. The whole game is about shaping the public perception. Governments everywhere try to secure their position by influencing public opinion, and Bangladesh is no exception. Any historical event that highlights the current regime's failed policies or reveals negative aspects of its associates is often downplayed or removed. Often leaders censor undesirable narratives, reject the inconvenient truth, and choose comforting lies to maintain their hold on power. They present a sanitized version of history, focusing on their achievements, victories, and milestones. These are selectively highlighted, glorified, and repeated, while opposing ideologies and criticisms are ignored or discredited. All kinds of tools are used to run propaganda, including media, books, and social media. Information is disseminated in such a way that the desired narrative reaches the masses. Governments control the media to promote only their versions of events, ensuring that an altered narrative is delivered to the public. Dissenting views are generally suppressed. People are brainwashed to interpret history according to the narrative. Their thinking begins to align with the regime's ideology. As a result, people unite, become loyal to the regime, and accept its leadership. It is difficult to genuinely be good, but making people believe that one is good is relatively easy. Thus, most leaders choose the easier path. A dirty yet effective strategy involves targeting education systems. Children are taught in altered versions of history during their formative years, shaping their beliefs as they grow. This narrative becomes deeply ingrained, conditioning their minds to align with the regime's ideology, which is difficult to change later. They come to accept the altered version of history as their own truth. In such cases, they are unlikely to accept alternative viewpoints or even listen to them. Critical thinking is stifled, and they accept the altered version of history as the absolute truth. This version often portrays opposition leaders as villains and declares them threats to society. Consequently, when these leaders are suppressed, it is widely accepted without resistance. Just like in a film, it is first established that a particular person is the villain. Then, when the villain is punished, it is considered justified. The director decides which character is portrayed as the villain. Similarly, the current leaders use their powers to shape historical events according to their plan. We are all naturally wired to think in stories, so every leader tries to make his story believable. The entire game revolves around proving one's version of events as correct. Once a leader succeeds in doing this, he can easily silence opposing voices. This is why historical research is often controlled. To maintain a narrative, it is necessary to ensure that no honest historian presents the authentic facts. If archives and records do not support the desired narrative, then access to them is restricted, as the leaders would not want anyone to uncover information that contradicts their version of events. Independent researchers are also controlled, as their truthful accounts could challenge the official narrative. This is why leaders try to silence those who threaten their version of history. It is nothing but an exercise in shaping collective memory. When people are ill-informed, they are easier to manipulate. They become vulnerable to propaganda and misinformation and, like sheep, they do not question authority. To ensure this, only selective information that aligns with the leader's propaganda is disseminated. Because if people become aware of the truth, they will question authority and the leader's dominance will be threatened. So to prevent this, a distorted understanding of history is created. Alright, so that happens. But if this happens, what's the problem with it? See, when you distort historical facts, you hide the truth. You kill the objective understanding of people, stifle critical thinking, and create a weak society built on lies. The true past is hidden, leaving people unaware of the real lessons of history. They live their lives based on false narratives and become afflicted with all kinds of divisions. Polarization increases in society, leading to conflicts among citizens. The true identity of the country starts to erode, and people become disconnected from their authentic heritage. New generations grow distant from their roots, to the extent that they struggle to understand their own culture. In such a society, there is no room for critical analysis or open debate. Biases grow so strong that people cannot even question authority. Leaders are no longer held accountable for their actions, allowing them to do whatever they please. This is what they wanted all along, a society where everything happens according to their wishes. But we know that absolute power corrupts absolutely. As a result, dictatorial tendencies emerge, authoritarian policies are introduced, and the leader justifies repressive rule. Human rights violations are excused, dissent is suppressed, and power is consolidated. In this way, the nation's credibility and respect diminish. By running a narrative, you might be able to keep your people under control for some time. But your propaganda will not work outside the country. You will be exposed there, and your country's reputation in the world will decline. By pushing your narrative and propaganda, both your reputation and your country's will be damaged. Your credibility will be lost due to distorting facts. Moreover, a society that does not learn from the mistakes of the past will repeat them and remain in trouble because of this. There will be no progress. One thing is certain, the truth cannot be hidden forever. The truth will eventually be revealed. During that time, instability and unrest will be witnessed in the country. Suddenly, people's eyes will open and trust in the leadership will be lost. The country will face a crisis. So, by distorting history and pushing his own narrative, the leader may temporarily establish his grip on the country, but in the long term, it proves to be quite dangerous. It harms social unity, hampers growth, creates divisions among people, and breeds mistrust. Overall, it negatively impacts the country. I hope you have understood this topic. See you in the next session. Thank you for your time.